Welcome back, YouTube, to Icy Chap's Edge. I'm Icy Chap here with another knife review, this time looking at the Spyderco Tenacious. And this is a review I've been wanting to do for a long time because this knife is so popular, and I am definitely one of the people who love their Tenacious. Let's look at that blade design. It really is an excellent design for a utility knife. A couple things to note right away. It's got a flat spine to it and a lot of sweep and belly to the blade. It's also a full flat grind, and what that does is a couple things. Number one, it makes this edge very, very sharp. I'll just point out also, it's a relatively thin knife, even for a folding knife, and so that blade is extra, extra sharp. In addition, because of that blade shape, you've got that nice flat spine, it makes this tip very, very thin and very sharp. So if you do have piercing tasks, this knife is going to do them well, but it's also going to perform well for any kind of slicing task because it has such a great latter third of that blade, or even latter half of that blade, having such great sweep. In addition, you've got great control because you've got a nice flat spine, so you can put your finger on the top of that and really get nice control for slicing tasks. And in addition, you've got nice jimping and a nice little thumb ramp there. So if you get your thumb up in that ramp, you've got great tip control. So as a utility knife, I think that blade shape is nearly perfect. Spyderco did a fantastic job with that blade shape. Since we're talking about the blade shape, let's talk about the steel for a second. It's that 8CR MOV steel, actually 8CR 13 MOV. And to be honest, I'm not sure exactly what that means, although I assume it has to do with the carbide makeup. And I can tell you this is a pretty hard and brittle steel. So I would assume that the MO is molybdenum and the V is probably vanadium. And those carbides make this a very hard and brittle knife. So for the woods, I would say also because the blade is so thin and you've got such a thin tip, I would say this probably is not a good knife to go prying with, not a good knife to work on any kind of hardwood with. But for basic utility tasks, cardboard boxes, plastic, that kind of thing, this knife is going to do very well. It really is just a great design for that and a very good blade steel for that. I found in my experience, I have a couple Spyderco knives with this steel, and I found that it holds its edge very, very well. Obviously not as well as some of the higher carbon steels, but for a stainless, I like it very much. Just talking about that blade steel for a second also, this is a knife that's made in China. And because of that, it's a very high value blade. But if it's an issue for you that it's not made in the United States or that it's made in China specifically, then that's something you should be aware of right up front. Let's talk about the handle. Great G10 scales. I don't know if you can tell from the video, but they are textured. Not too deep, so there really is no abrasive effect from it, but I find that it's very comfortable. And also because of the size of the knife, it's not too big. The blade is only about 3.5 inches long. Overall length, I would say, is about, I don't know, definitely less than 8 inches. It's very comfortable in hand, and I find that I've got great purchase with that texturing and with this finger choil here, and the knife is just not going to slip, even if it gets wet. Another thing to note, it's an open design. You've got pillar construction, so the knife is easily cleaned. You can also remove the handle scales, and I like that as well. The pocket clip can be put in any position for tip up or tip down carry. As you notice, I've taken my pocket clip off and I just attached this lanyard. That's because I really don't carry this knife. I keep it in a drawer, and whenever I need it for tasks at home, this is really my primary go-to knife. I grab it by the lanyard, pull it out of the drawer, and it's good to go. The deployment is lightning fast, and that's really because, I don't know if you can see them in there, but you've got phosphor bronze bushings. And for a knife at this price, that is just amazing. Really, really high quality, high value knife. Great deployment and very smooth. The lockup is like a bank vault. It absolutely has no movement up or down, side to side. It really locks in tight. Also, the deployment is fast because of the great spider hole. My personal favorite method of deployment for virtually any folding knife. The only exception would be the Emerson knives, the ones that have the wave feature. But other than that, that spider hole is just great for getting good purchase with your thumb, and the knife opens really fast because of it. So what else can I tell you? I mean, the liner lock is very strong, but the liners are drilled, so the knife is very light. It weighs in at about 4 ounces, which for an EDC carry knife, I think is basically ideal. And if you wanted to carry this every day as your utility knife, I don't think you're going to be disappointed. And I think that's one of the reasons why the Spyderco Tenacious is so popular. Let's talk really quickly about its defensive capabilities. Because the deployment is so fast and because that handle is so sturdy, I actually think for a folding knife this would make a very good fighting blade. You do have a nice finger choil there, and when deploying using my side grip method, you deploy very fast, and coupled with the thumb ramp where you can place your index finger, you can actually execute very hard stabs with the knife. And keeping that blade, even though it's fairly broad, keeping that blade flat parallel to the ground is going to let you stab in certain places and basically penetrate very deeply, even though the blade is not that long. Also, because of the sweep, you're going to have nice slashing capability with the knife. So as a defensive blade, while this would not be my first choice, I definitely think this could handle most defensive tasks. The blade has got a nice Scotch-Brite finish, so it's going to be reflective. Your opponent, your attacker, is going to see it, hopefully lose interest once you show some resistance. And if need be, I think this will perform as a half-decent fighting blade. So all of those things combined, I think, are really why the Spyderco Tenacious is so popular. You've got excellent design for a utility blade. It has some defensive capabilities. You've got a very nicely designed textured G10 handle, very solid lockup with the liner lock, very fast deployment with the phosphor bronze bushings, and overall just a very well made knife, very nice fit and finish. And of course the pocket clip being attachable in any position makes the knife really universal for right-handers and left-handers. So great knife. I give it a very, very high 9 out of 10 for that reason. I think some people might rate it lower because of the steel, but I think for the tasks that it's going to be employed for, I think the steel is more than adequate. So the Spyderco Tenacious gets a very high 9 out of 10 for me, and I say go out and get one. Very affordable knife. Hope you enjoyed the review. Leave comments, subscribe, and have a good one.
Life in the fast lane surely make you lose your mind. Life